Good evening, everybody. This is Shauna Anderson again, coming to you from the amazing state of New Mexico, again for American Christian Heritage. As we study the numerous Christian traditions in the United States, it's really hard to choose just one to focus on for this brief discussion video. Growing up Catholic, I have always been fascinated by the Greek Orthodox tradition and the Greek Orthodox churches in the United States. There was a Greek Orthodox church and school just down the street from my Catholic high school, and we would get together with them occasionally for interfaith discussions and things like that, but never really got super in-depth on what they believed. And quite frankly, growing up, I always just thought that the Greek Orthodox was the same as the Roman Church, except that instead of the Pope, they had the Patriarch. Come to find out, by doing this assignment, I was able to get way more in depth on it and into to what it really means to be a Greek Orthodox Christian in the United States. So the Eastern or Greek Orthodox Church actually split with the Roman Catholic Church in 1054 AD in what's called the Great Schism. That was the first big split in Christianity, and it was over centuries of clashes over theological and jurisdictional and cultural and political differences between the Eastern and Western churches that eventually came down to just needing to be two separate churches. Unlike the Roman Catholic Church that has this kind of interlocking hierarchy of you have your deacons, your priests, your bishops, your archbishops, all culminating in the ecclesiastical authority of the Bishop of Rome, or the Pope. The Eastern Orthodox churches actually all operate independently of one another. They recognize the spiritual preeminence of the Ecumenical Patriarch of Constantinople, but the churches are not under his authority. Each archbishop manages his own church. For example, the Archbishop of the Greek Orthodox Church in America operates the Greek Orthodox Church of America in the way that he sees fit, rather than answering to someone else, somewhere else, which I found incredibly interesting. Now, the beliefs and traditions of the Greek Orthodox Church stress worshiping God in the correct, the Orthodox way. Their Old Testament, the Old Testament of the Orthodox Bible, is based not on the translations from Hebrew like we're familiar with in Western churches, but on what's called the Septuagint, which is an ancient Jewish translation into Greek, which I found really interesting. Like the Roman Catholic Church, which I'm quite familiar with, the Eastern Church espouses the same sacraments. So you have your holy orders, your matrimony, the anointing of the sick, reconciliation, and the Holy Eucharist. They're all recognized as sacraments in the Eastern Orthodox Church, just like they are in the Roman Catholic Church. And like Roman Catholicism, the Eastern Church embraces monasticism, prayer, and fasting. They have their fasting seasons, similar to the way Catholics fast during Lent. And monasteries and convents, where prayer and fasting is a focus, is a way of life. The one way that the Eastern churches do stand out from Roman Catholic churches is in the use of icons. Most of us are probably familiar with icons. We've seen them in art museums and things like that. But I thought it would be really interesting to get into the religious significance of those, especially for the Orthodox Church. So icons, what they are is they're elaborate two-dimensional paintings on wood with a gold leaf background. They are always depictions of Jesus Christ, his mother Mary, biblical events, and the saints. And the iconographer actually has to prepare himself or herself spiritually to engage in iconography, in doing this religious artwork. So the iconographer, the artist, will prepare himself or herself through prayer and fasting in order to meditate on the artwork and the significance of it, which I thought was really, really cool and really interesting. And then once they're in the churches, these icons become tools for worship. They are a way for worshipers to focus their spiritual needs and their feelings and their prayers, and get into a deeper spiritual state while praying. They'll be surrounded by candles. The worshiper will light a candle, kneel, and begin praying, which I found was interesting and a good meditative practice. Now, in the United States, the first Greek Orthodox community was actually established in New Orleans in 1864, when a small group of Greek merchants formed a small colony in New Orleans. That's typical of the way the Greek church came to the United States. Greek immigrants would come, they would build a church, they would worship there, and that would be how the community would build the church would sustain the community, and it was a symbiotic relationship. The first permanent Greek Orthodox community in the United States was founded in New York City in 1892, where the Cathedral of the Holy Trinity and the See of the Archbishop of America remains today. Now, the Orthodox community grew pretty quickly over the next 2 decades, and by 1920, about 60% of the current Greek Orthodox churches that exist in the United States had been founded. However, over recent decades, the demographics of the Greek Orthodox Church in America has shifted a bit, and it's no longer an immigrant church. It's no longer solely Greek Americans, immigrants to the United States, who are sustaining these churches. It's their children and their non-Greek spouses and their families. So it's not so wholly Greek anymore. And that changing dynamic prompted Greek Orthodox leaders in the late 20th century, like Archbishop Iakovos, to bring Orthodoxy into more mainstream Christianity without losing the fundamentals of Orthodox Christianity. He Americanized the social services of the Greek Church and connected with the secular Greek community support services. And kind of brought them all together into one support system for Greek Americans. Not one to shy away from social needs. One thing I found particularly interesting about Archbishop Iakovos was that he was the highest ranking Christian leader to join Martin Luther King Jr. in his civil rights campaign. He actually, even though he was tall, he wore all black, he wore a big hat, he was a prime target for a sniper, if we're being honest. He linked arms with Dr. King and marched at the front of his civil rights marches, and was spiritually inspiring for many of the American Orthodox Christians. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed listening to that and learning a little bit about the Greek Orthodox Church as much as I enjoyed really getting into it and learning about it this week. Thank you.